chop my hand. Oh, me say, oh, me tell you to run. Nobody say, nobody on. Well, pick me up with golden hand. Oh, me say, oh, me tell you to run. Nobody say, nobody on. Well, I would like to hold my little hand. I will run, I will cry. I would like to hold my little hand. I will run, I will cry. Send me away, send me away, send me away.
As I wander through S21, I feel my anxiety slowly build until it screams to be released. Thousands of questions, each one with its own equally terrifying answers, flood my senses and refuse to leave. The eerie yet strangely deafening silence, the smell of the tiny stone cells and rich earthen graves, the bare, clinical rooms, horrendous devices and blank staring faces in photographs, the icy coldness within the stifling Cambodian heat, the unimaginable taste of death and despair that should have left but somehow lingers. My mind wanders to the motives, a leadership convinced they had uncovered the right way to live, a way in which all members of their society would be equal. We as humans often argue that we are right with dogged determination. I wonder what being right is worth. Is it worth this cold, calculated stench of death? Is it worth 3 million lives? Used to a country so determined to protect the vulnerabilities of its people, we are not prepared for the assault on our senses that comes from staring at the 8,000 human skulls contained within a glass structure at the killing fields, or the tiny ribbons adorning a tree used to kill children by striking their heads. I think of the vulnerability of the child victims, their pleadings to their mothers and fathers, those meant to protect them, and the absolute helplessness of those parents unable to save their babies. I think of child cancer victims and the helplessness of those parents. We talk to them of finding a cure to stop the pain for future victims. I wonder, what is the cure for human indecency, and where might we be able to find it?
Baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room and I've walked the floor. Used to live alone before I knew ya. 'Cause it's a bittersweet symphony that's life.
A quarter of the population in Phnom Penh are living in slum communities. There is a high probability that children growing up in these communities will be destined to life on the streets at risk of abuse in all forms and exploitation. Friends International is an amazing organisation that works to provide outreach to those children who are most vulnerable. This is done by the way of transitional homes for children who have been separated from their families, with the long-term goal of getting these children back into a stable home life with their own families. They also provide vocational training in restaurants such as Rom Dang and Friends the Restaurant, which will help develop skills in older children, in turn assisting in both life and gaining future employment. They also provide informal schooling to children, which is in line with the program's goal of ensuring all children have the right to access education. In order to combat the financial stresses parents living in poverty face, they often require the children in the family to assist in bringing in income. This is done in a variety of ways, including begging. Friends International offer these vulnerable parents the opportunity to make wares that can then be sold in the Friends International stores. Income from this helps the family out and creates an opportunity for children to be in school rather than out begging. In 2016, 3,063 children were provided education through the program. 461 were provided with vocational training, and 201 children that had been separated from their families were reunited.
change, I can change, I can change. But I'm here in my mold. I am here in my mold. And I'm a million different people from one day to the next. I can change my mold. Gather round, people, I'll tell you a story.
22 November 2017, we took the morning to visit DC Cam, the documentation centre of Cambodia. We walked into an office filled with books and papers, people who were busy recording and reviewing the recent and devastating history, and amazing, impressionable images on the walls. We crowded into a room and were shown a short film that brought sharp clarity to the events that we had been confronted with just 2 days prior. It showed the vibrant and musical lifestyle of the Khmer people prior to the events leading to the Khmer Rouge, and the changes that occurred. We met talented artists, either themselves as survivors or through their families and fans, and were taught their musical history, intermingled with a report of the shifting political climate. Ultimately, though, the film confronted us with just how recently these events occurred, and I wondered why I had not previously known about the Khmer Rouge. Then we got to meet Yup Cheng, who told us what DC Cam did and why they did it, why he did it. I came across a quote from Mr. Cheng that tells part of this purpose, a quote I couldn't help but identify with. A society cannot know itself if it does not have an accurate memory of its own history. This quote summarises one of the many reasons why I was inspired by this visit and the vision Mr. Cheng has for building an institute to continue the legacy of DC Cam, a legacy of history, education and healing.
From little things, big things grow. Vesting man said, I'll double your
At uni, met students working for their degree. In the future, they'll be lawyers with a PhD. ECCC was set by royal decree to try war criminals who'd had a killing spree. The court was a farce, on that we could agree. Big fat waste of money, we all could see. War criminals, they jailed only 3 from the thousands who'd gone on that killing spree. Millions of dollars spent with no guarantee for justice for Cambodia that anyone could see. The court was supposed to be the final referee, but the death of those criminals will be what sets them free. Back to the uni, those students are the key to a future Cambodia that's peaceful and free. The country needs lawyers, it's easy to foresee, for a just legal system, I know you'll agree.
from all walks of life. And Vincent sat down with big politicians. This affair, they told him, it's a matter of state. Let us sort it out while your people are hungry. Vincent said, no thanks, we know how to wait. From little things, big things grow. From little things, big things grow.
Here comes the sun, doo-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long, cold, lonely winter.
Action pour les Enfants, known as APPLE, helps police with investigations into street-based child sex abuse, as well as providing pro bono legal support to victims and their families. Their criminal justice development program targets national law enforcement agencies, trying to build their capacity to deal with cases of sex abuse and exploitation of children. APPLE also runs phone and internet hotlines where the public can report abuse anonymously and confidentially. Our task for the day was to offer legal advice relating to a hypothetical scenario where child sex acts were being filmed and broadcast on the dark web from a hotel room in Phnom Penh. we had to apply the rules of the Evidence Act 1995 Commonwealth to ensure that the evidence we collected was not only relevant and admissible, but also reliable and of high probative value. We all left Apple with a sense of admiration for the excellent work that they do.
An estimated 40% of Cambodians suffer from mental illness. Some catalysts include Khmer Rouge trauma and domestic violence. There's a massive gap between what is needed and what is available. Is anyone standing in the gap? The Cambodian Women's Crisis Centre is, and TPO. CWCC have 3 shelters providing havens for over 200 victims of domestic violence and free legal representation. How sad it was to hear that marital rape is prevalent. The stories of abuse ripped our hearts out. The mission of this organisation brings hope, helping women help themselves. Incredibly, until 2007, traditional poems were taught in schools, declaring women must serve and respect their husbands at all times above all else, and men must behave without mistake. Enormous pressures for both men and women. TPO has a mental health treatment centre in Phnom Penh. They train people who also visit the provinces, where desperate family members sometimes cage their own loved ones for everyone's protection. Google Operation Unchained Project. See what's going on in Cambodia. These organisations are underfunded, but bring hope in abundance.
We entered the courtroom wary of the corrupt judicial system we had spent so long talking about. In the courtroom, we were met with the sight of 5 young men huddled together on the one bench, standing on drug trafficking charges. They looked terrified and completely resigned. There was no doubting their minds that they would be convicted. It was easy to see why they had given up. They had no defence. No one who knew how to navigate the titan that was the Cambodian court system was there to guide them or protect their interests, to make sure that they received a fair trial. The prosecution ran the whole proceedings as the mother of one of the accused, stood by helplessly, watching the injustice.
People killing, people dying, children hurting, I hear them crying. Can you practice what you preaching? Would you turn the other cheek again? Mama, 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 tell us what the hell is going on. Can't we all just...
On day 20 of our trip, we travelled to the Tonle Sap floating village, a seasonally inundated freshwater lake stretching almost 120 kilometres, making it the largest freshwater lake in Southeast Asia. The lake is home to more than 3 million people, with almost 90% of them relying on fishing and agriculture to make a living. The flow of the lake changes directions twice a year, and the lake expands and shrinks dramatically with the seasons. Life on the Tonle Sap is somewhat different to the life we live here in Australia. The vibrant stilt villages provide a fascinating lifestyle for the locals. Children ride to school on speedboats while monks float peacefully along the lake. Children jump and play freely in the murky waters below. The highlight of this journey for me was the school we attended on the outskirts of the village. The children immediately flocked to us with excitement as we handed out books, stationery and small toys. We later took a stroll through the local village and met some of the endless smiles that make up this great kingdom. These children are the future of Cambodia, and it is obvious to me that these beautiful souls are the promise for a better tomorrow.
Heart is a balloon, shoots up through the stony ground. There's no room, no space to rent in this town. you're out of luck. And the reason that you had to care, the traffic is stuck, and you're not moving anywhere. You thought you found a friend to take you out of this place, someone you could lend a hand in return for grace. It's a beautiful day.
Cambodia. Progress, but life still goes on. An abundance of prosperity, an abundance of hardship. Triumph in the face of adversity. Sunrise over where the Tonle Sap meets the Mekong. A hub of activity, a strong community spirit. Cultural arts is part of the glue that holds the country together. Food, both traditional and exotic. Aromas, both pleasant and sinus clearing. Beautifully elaborate temples and shrines. Life and living on land, on the river, by the roadside. Traffic, 2 words, organised chaos. Artistic license as to how many and how much one can fit on a motorcycle or in a tuk-tuk. Mr. Smiley, yoga on the riverfront. Mini golf, rural Siem Reap style. Starting a street party. Dancing on bars. Monks 2017 style. Markets, Makara, the vegetarian conspiracy. Crammers, service station stalls. That's petrol and not Fanta, folks. And of course, not forgetting Angkor Wat.
See the tuna fleets clearing the sea out. See the bedroom fires at night. See the oil fields at first light.